Hi, Tony Bradshaw with AddSomeToYourIncome.com here to talk about ways that teenagers make more money. I will be sharing a personal example from my own daughter, from my own life, as well as a conversation that I had with a teenager that is running a business. So let's dive in. In my own personal life, I look at the way I made money and the way that I make money now. I compare it to what I was doing as a teenager in making money. Most of the money making that I did as a teenager was the labor income. I work today and I get paid presently. I would work and I would get money, and I would work and I would get money. And that money was a very set thing. It could be every 2 weeks, and then I would be paid for the work that I had done. I do remember one time, this is a quick story, where I didn't get paid and I somehow lost track of it. I was probably just too busy. And the paycheck was still in the drawer at work where the checks were. And somehow it kind of got shuffled in with other things. And it was about 3 months later, which was around the holidays, that this check was found. And someone was like, here's this check. I'm like, oh, awesome. I can buy presents for my friends. But I mean, and obviously that's surprising that it happened, but such was me as a teenager, right? And what was happening. So most of the work as a teenager was schoolwork, and then it was going to a place to make money. To make money, it was usually I put in my time and I do whatever is to be done at the different places that I worked at. That is common for teenagers. I will share a little bit more about my experience of what was happening to me in growing as a teenager that helped me to continue making the money. So to get a little too personal, possibly, I was still a teenager, and it was my freshman year going to school, and so I was going to university. I was working, I was working 3 jobs, and I was going to school full time. I don't think I had much of a social life at that time. I think it really suffered because I was also trying to get enough sleep. Okay, right? So I found myself also riding public transit to save money, and I was so into that. And I was riding my bike instead of driving and paying for insurance. I was riding my bike, and I shut down my insurance and I stopped driving. It worked. I rode my bike about 6 blocks and got on the local tram, and then I would get dropped off like 2 blocks away from the university. So it worked. It was study time, carry all my stuff with me. I was in the marching band too, so I'd often have my trombone. And I remember one day I was coming home from marching band, and I was on the tram. I saw this guy, and I looked at him, and I thought he recognized me because I recognized him. But then there was something in his eyes that I didn't recognize. He didn't recognize me, and he looked very old, even though it had only been about 2 years earlier that we had been working together at McDonald's. So McDonald's was one of my first jobs. It wasn't my first. It was actually my third job. And I was working the cash register, and he was working back on the grill. And I remember this man mentioning, taking care of kids and house and home, that he was working 3 jobs. Okay, so fast forward to this time when I'm on the tram and I see this guy, and he looked like a man dying. I mean, he looked like a shell of a man. He looked so old. And I sat there, instead of being able to read my books that I needed to do on for school or whatever, and it was at the end of the day going home, and it was dark. I remember it was dark and going home, and I sat there, I had my trombone, I had my bike, I had my heavy backpack from the day of school, and I realized between all that was going on in my life, it was too much. I realized it was too much. I realized that working the 3 jobs, having evenings booked when I didn't have practice, weekends booked to get the work done, school packed in there, I just realized I, number one, will finish my degree. Because this person had said he wished he'd gotten a degree and that he wouldn't be stuck working, flipping burgers at McDonald's. I, number two, realized I had a problem. And it was the same problem that this guy had. And that if I wasn't careful, I would end up looking like he looked. A haggard old man that was exhausted and didn't even recognize someone. I decided I'm going to get the degree, and I committed myself to school. I ended up shaving off a job right away. I'm not doing this anymore. And another job within the next couple of months also stopped happening, and I just had the one job and school. And that was plenty busy. And I learned something about time. You have time, and how you choose to spend it is very important. If you are a teenager listening to this, you might want to check in on a couple of my other videos about gift income. That's an awesome area, and I'm not going to touch on it in this video. You will want to hear what I'm going to talk about with the passive income and running your own business. I did mention I was going to talk about how my daughter is working, because this is about how teenagers make money. So my daughter was looking for work, and she is still a little bit on the young side, and a lot of places right now are able to hire. There are lots of people who are going for work. And so she wasn't getting a job. She wasn't getting a job. There were places that were literally saying, well, we're actually, if you're not already a certain age, we're just not hiring. So she had a friend of hers mention, mention work that is happening where they would go out in the fields and top corn. So the topping of the corn is taking off the top tassel parts to change it from being a bull corn to, I guess, just female, and it will produce more corn. But it's only every, 7th or 10th one or something. But they go down through, a machine goes first, but it doesn't get all of them. And then they go down through and pick off any of the ones that are missed. So it's basically working fields, and she did this summer, and that's how she has been making money. This is labor income. This is, she clocks in, she goes and works, she clocks out, she gets paid presently. That is labor income, and it's very often the way that teenagers work to make their money. Now, there is the rare individual who, as a teenager, becomes an entrepreneur. These teenagers who already see the world so differently than I did as a teenager. It's exciting. It's fun to talk with them and find out how they think and what they're doing in order to bring money in by running a business. Before I say any more, and maybe I don't even need to say any more, you should and can think for yourself what business it is that you can have as a teenager. I was at the fair, and at the fair there's a lemonade stand, and I think I did say I talked to the teenager, but I think I was actually just talking with the parents, but go with me on this. So there's a lemonade stand. A lemonade at the fair is a very desirable thing, right? And they are making their sales. And they had a tip jar there, and it said for college. And that's where the conversation started, because I'm like, you have a tip jar here, college, what is that? To find out that there are 5 kids total, and 2 of them were there working, but there are 5 kids. And so as I talked, Mom was telling me that they are working to run this. They help run it. They're part of the business. And so they're not the only ones. I know teenagers where the family has business that they run. For, jump houses is an example. I know they have jump houses, and one of the teenagers has bought a jump house, and whenever that jump house is being used, it's money into his pocket as a teenager. So this happens, and whatever businesses you're working, you're working like a lot of other teenagers are. It just so happens that you have a piece of the pie, where it is actually your pie, and you are the one that's having that money that comes back to you. That is called passive income. That is where you have worked in the past and you're finally making money at harvest. The fact that in hot summer day there's a lemonade stand at the fair means that they did a whole bunch of work before then to get to that point that they're making the money. They purchased the little lemonade, it looked like a lemon. They had the agreement with the fair to be there. They had their supplies ready to go. They are standing there with ice cold lemonade on a hot summer day and a tip jar. There's a little gift income right there happening. There's the passive income that's happening because they worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, and now they're at harvest. Whether you're a teenager or just someone who is enjoying this channel, I thank you for listening and watching. I say listening because I know how it is. Sometimes you've moved on to other things, but you're listening. I look forward to seeing you on the other side.